The Surgeon General just released a statistic. Half the country feels isolated because they feel alone and depressed. They already meet 2 of the warning signs of a potential violent actor. Oh, my voice got a little high right there. That's how excited I was. Man, these glasses. Extra Asian today. It's like it frames my ethnicity. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Prep Life. Let's talk about the shooting that took place in Allen, Texas over the weekend. You likely already heard about this shooting because it's been painted all over the national mainstream media. Why? Because it fits their narrative. According to the investigative reports, after 24 hours of investigating likely social media, they discovered that the potential motive in this case was white supremacy. The guy's last name is Garcia. He's Hispanic. Like, no doubt he's Hispanic. But it's important to line out the facts of this case to understand the gun advocacy position and the gun control position, and also learn how we can mitigate risk in the future, especially during a mass killing. So this guy shows up on scene at an outlet mall. He had cased the place prior, according to his social media, where he was posting pictures of it. He arrived at peak population time, gets out of his vehicle in kit with an AR-15 and a pistol on person, and winds up murdering 8 people, injuring 11 before he's taken out by a police officer. Kudos to the police officer for doing his job, running to the sound of gunfire and neutralizing the threat. Most certainly, if not for this officer's heroism, there would have been a lot more casualties. Let's back up just a little bit and talk about some of the facts of this. One, the guy was in the military. They're already reporting this, but the media loves to jump all over this, and I understand it. Even though we have a trans active shooter 6 weeks ago that shoots up a Christian school and there's no motive declared, they left a note and there's no motive, but I digress. So 2008, this kid goes in the Army and gets kicked out of basic training only a couple months in. So I went to Fort Benning, Georgia and saw this. Like, if guys didn't meet the standard, I was never a drill instructor, but from my understanding, if you didn't meet the standard, there was a stipulation where you could do counseling and say, failed to meet the standard, and you could basically discharge them out. They don't get dishonorably discharged, and normally it's like a general discharge under honorable conditions. It's like they didn't really do anything wrong, even though they suck, they get kicked out. Now, they're reporting that it was mental or physical reasons that he got kicked out. Regardless, that happened in 2008. Short stint in the Army. He goes forward with a career in security where he passes background investigations that the security company conducted, as well as qualifications and training to be an armed security guard. Now, I don't know the context of what he actually did as a security guard, but he went through background investigations, which is an important fact, and he passed, which is another important fact. He also legally purchased all the firearms. He even had online receipts of these purchases. He had pistols, he had AR-15, the list goes on. He's in his 30s. You got all of these things that add up, and we take the gun control position. We're advocating for more gun control because already, less than 12 hours after this took place, Biden and all his cronies start making things up, saying that this is a systemic issue and we need to go after guns. Biden said he will take all assault rifles out. If a bill is proposed and put on his desk, he will sign that immediately, even though it's been proven that the assault weapons ban never actually worked. Leftist institutions did the research and studies on that assault weapons ban and proved that it had no effect on mass killings and violent acts with guns. But again, we don't have to entertain this. We could talk about the facts. Let's talk about some facts that pertain to this instance that are important to clarify, because I witnessed this, analyzing this over the weekend in the national media. They threw out a whole bunch of numbers. And if you're not schooled on the understanding of what these numbers mean, then you hear hundreds, in fact, 220 plus active or mass shootings. And that's correct. But first, let's define the difference between a mass shooting and a mass killing. Mass shooting means 4 or more victims that are injured, not killed. So it could be like 3 killed, 1 injured. That's a mass shooting. 220 plus of those, hundreds of those. typically the number they throw out to scare the hell out of you, thinking this is a systemic issue, because that's like 2 a day. It's still a lot. But those inner city crimes that take place in Chicago that are never talked about, in Baltimore, in Philadelphia, that are never discussed because it's an inner city problem that is affecting African Americans, that's never discussed in mainstream media, those are lumped into that number. Now, the difference between a mass shooting and a mass killing involves 4 or more victims that are killed during the shooting. How many of those exist? The one in Allen, Texas over the weekend was the 22nd one of these. That's like 1 a week. Now, that's not a statistic to brag about. I'm here to line this out for your understanding, but there's a big stark contrast between hundreds and then 22. On average, it's about 24 a year that take place, so we're way above average. The most we've ever seen, and likely going to beat the record, and that record dates back to 2006. So it's not anything to brag about. But when we line out the issues, we say, well, the gun control position is that we need to do more background investigation and ban the purchase of these weapons. The wrong people, which is very subjective, can't get these weapons in their hands. And this person passed all the background investigations of a security company, the background investigations of the current laws on the books right now for background check in purchasing the firearm, and had no prior history of violence. So let me read you a couple bullet points here. These are important to line out because these are the statistics that crisis violent experts, whatever the hell that means, I'm citing here, tell you are the signs and indications of potentially doing violence onto others, including a mass killing. Crisis signs include increased agitation, check, abusive behavior, isolation, losing reality, depression, mood swings, check, inability to do a daily task, check. Okay, so these are the signs. This is one of the reasons when they started throwing out the guy was a veteran, 2008, mental health issues, I was like, here we go. Here's all the advocates for the red flag laws. Because if you have a post-traumatic stress mental health diagnosis from the military, you must not be able to have a gun. How subjective is that? How many people are feeling increased agitation or depression and mood swings or inability to do a daily task because you're distracted or isolation? The Surgeon General just released a statistic. Half the country feels isolated because they feel alone and depressed. They already meet 2 of the warning signs of a potential violent actor. Oh, my voice got a little high right there. That's how excited I was. I mean, this is insane. So when we look at the issue of guns being the problem, gun laws and further gun control would have not stopped this potential mass killing. And the easy button is, oh, the guy interacted with white supremacy and neo-Nazi propaganda, so he must be a white supremacist. The guy's last name is Garcia. Like, I've saw multiple pictures of him analyzing his face, and I'm no ethnic identification expert, but with these glasses on, I could see the future, and I see the guy, and I'm like, that dude's Hispanic. He's not a white guy. But according to the ladies from The View, because, you know, they're subject matter experts, but they are absolutely influencing this country at its core, believe that any race could be a potential white supremacist. It's like me being identified as a domestic terrorist and being a white supremacist. Obviously, I'm a white nationalist. I'm half Korean. At least I identify that way from the waist down. I mean, I appreciate people's ethnic and cultural background, but when we're I guess in this bizarro world that is the clown show, you could just say whatever and that becomes the new fact. Right? You're a Hispanic or black guy, you could be certainly a white supremacist. I mean, yeah, let's move on. So when you look at the totality of the circumstance, let's compare and contrast that to what happened the following day in Brownsville, Texas, a border town on the border of Texas and Mexico that is dealing with a massive immigration conflict. I mean, this is like absolutely affecting our national security. But Again, not in mainstream media. A Hispanic male drives through a red light, broad daylight, and mows over and kills 8 innocent Venezuelans boarding a bus to go to a deportation facility or something. Like they're going to a smaller bus to get to a bigger bus to take a trip somewhere. Minding their own damn business, gets mowed over by this lunatic who, by all indications, did this on purpose or was absolutely drunk or both. But it's not reported. Why? Because if you report that weighed against a mass killing of a Hispanic guy killing 8 people versus a Hispanic guy killing 8 people, vehicle versus AR-15, it's like, ooh, that doesn't seem right because that doesn't fit the narrative. Let's not talk about that instance of violence. Let's not talk about the guy in New York who ran over elderly people in a Christian parade and still to this day don't have a motive. Like, literally talked about hate crime. Guy was black, innocent people were white, but we don't need to talk about that because it doesn't fit the narrative. I don't know what the hell is happening in this country, but it's sad. Let's look at the ways to mitigate risk of this in the future. We talk about this at Fieldcraft Survival, my company, when we talk about self-protection, personal security. Most of the courses that we teach, we have this understanding that the crisis site is where the bad stuff is happening. We call that the X. And you have to get off the X as quickly and rapidly as possible. Like the default immediate action drill is not grabbing your cell phone to record. It is moving you and your family off the X as fast as humanly possible. There are classic indications of this not working and people paying and sacrificing their lives, including the Vegas active shooting or mass killing that killed over 50 people, where people are told to bed down, seek cover, stop, cover your head. Covering your head with your hands will not stop you from dying in a mass killing. So why is it important to get off the X? Because you have precious moments to break contact off the X. Now, by all observations, because there are CCTV cameras, especially as he got out of the vehicle, there was not an opportunity for many people to get off the X on initial contact. But many people survived because they did get off the X. Here's one of the problems I have in trying to mitigate risk. If you're in one of the stores, because it was reported that many people in stores were escorted into the back of the store, hidden in closets, hidden in supply rooms, that scares the hell out of me. Now, if you have a firearm and you're pushed into the back of a building and you're fortifying your position, ambushing the threat that's potentially going to come through the door, that is a fighting aspect. But the whole idea of run, hide, fight bothers me. We teach observe, fight or flee and fight inversely, because you should be doing both. You should be fleeing, always preparing to fight, but never hiding in a position where you're setting yourself up for failure. If this guy wasn't taken out by this heroic police officer at the time, he would have went in the stores, store by store, killing any victims that he saw. And where is he going to go? To the back of the store where people are hiding. And what posture are they in to defend their human lives? They're not in the right posture. This has been proven in Virginia Tech. I talk about this in my book, Prepared, where we line out why people were victims, because they hid under their desk in the protocol, run, hide, nowhere to go, and they weren't in a posture to possibly fight for their lives. Just a couple pro tips in a tragic situation. It's hard to weigh these things. Guys, you could talk. You can hear more about my talk in the underground on patreon.com/Mike Glover. I appreciate all my patrons supporting this channel. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to do it ad-free. I appreciate all the things that you guys are doing for me. I'm flying out this week to go see Jocko. We're doing a podcast together. Short trip, then headed out to Kalispell, Montana. If you're in Kalispell, I'll be teaching a preparedness seminar on Friday in Kalispell. And I'll be teaching personal security on Saturday. It's already sold out. We will do more of those classes. In fact, we have a couple listed on the website now. I believe the next one we're kicking off is in Denver, and then I'll be headed to Phoenix, Arizona as well. I just want to say thank you for supporting this channel and all the things that you guys do for us. I will see you in the underground really soon, answering your patron questions as well. Till next time, peace out, guys.